Now a few introductions, because we have up with me here on the table 4 panel members. On my left is Justin Tomlinson, who's MP for Swindon North. To the left of him is Peter Greenhout, who's a Swindon councillor and cabinet member for sustainability, strategic planning, property and housing. To my right we have Marianne Royer, who's representing the Swindon Chamber of Commerce, who's part of the Thames Valley Group. And on the far right is Dr. Gary Mantle, MBE, who is the Director of Wiltshire Wildlife Trust. Robert Buckland was the other Swindon MP who was going to be here, but has been asked to do some more official duties, so he's sent his apologies for absence. Anyway, I think we've got a sufficiently good panel to actually engage in the debate, which I hope is going to be lively and interesting as we move through the evening. Now, who am I? I've been living in Swindon now for about 25 years. I was formerly Director of Science Programmes at NERC, based in Swindon before I retired. And during that last 20 years that I was working for that organisation, I was heavily involved in climate change science and policy. And it was during the early stages of about 20 years that I witnessed amongst the scientific and political community the realisation that, based upon scientific evidence I might add, was that through humankind's activities we were and still are inadvertently embarking on an experiment which is fiddling around with the planet's physical and biological support systems, amongst others. Over that 20 years, of course, that realisation grew, and we've now started to see some, but not very much, too much by say, physical action. Since I retired, I'm a volunteer environment advisor for a national charity as well. I also have a small grant together with some colleagues from the Swindon Community Grants Programme, looking at climate change in the over 50s, and we've been going around talking to people in that age group throughout the borough with some quite interesting results. And I'm still doing some work with the Stockholm Environment Institute at the University of York. So I was asked to do this. I'm also a member of the Swindon Climate Action Network as well. So that's me. Now, a bit of background, I think, why we're all here, first of all. And one of the things I want to make clear from my point of view, and it was I was talking to Andy Parsons when I came to the doors this evening, and I'm aware that, unfortunately, the issue of climate change obviously seems to have taken a bit of a backseat, somewhat understandably, I suppose, at the moment, but I don't think that's any excuse for not having it. There is not any excuse for not having it up front in terms of the political agenda. If we recall that it's actually been described by a number of people as more important than terrorism in terms of an international issue that we all face. As I said, it's quite clear that we are interfering with the planet, but what we don't know yet is whether we're locked into irreversible damage. But we're in the unknown in terms of the sort of environment that we've created to ourselves in terms of atmospheric pollutants and everything else. And the other thing is no one magic solution, and that we need to take action across a number of areas. That's going to be individual, international, collectively, business, so no one is out of the, no one can stop taking responsibility for not doing it. So we need a collective effort to address the many challenges that we face as a society and civilization. But it's also easy, I think, to descend into a bit of eco-doom and to be very finger-wagging and judgmental about it. So I hope that our debate doesn't descend into that this evening. We have something slightly more positive in that. My experience in going around talking to people in the Community Grants Programme is that there is a lot of knowledge out there and ideas about how individuals can contribute, and we should do our utmost to try and capture that in any way we can. But we are dealing with a very complex issue. Sometimes the information that's out there is Too much of it, I feel. Some of it is actually contradictory, and it's difficult for people to navigate their way through it to find out what's best for them. But my view is, I tend to come at this now in my with the longer tooth, that there is no one on this planet who has any excuse for inaction. My view is, whatever your personal, social, economic circumstances are, there is always something you can do to reduce your impact on the planet. It's just a matter of finding out what of those actions suit your lifestyle the best. So it doesn't necessarily mean wearing hair shirts and things like that. It's actually trying to get people to realise what they can do in all instances. Now, I've wound up this background by saying in June, the Committee on Climate Change, which is the government's independent advisory group, published their second report to Parliament, in which they said, and it's been well accepted, that we need to still make a step change in getting to, if we want to achieve the targets that we have set ourselves as a nation and also internationally. And we are falling behind that. So there's really a need for some really big decisions and changes to be made if we are going to meet those targets. In responding to this report, there was a number of quotes from a number of eminent people, but I've chosen three here which I think actually reinforce the need for us to do something. The first one is from Neil Bentley, the CBI Director of Business and Environment, and he says that we are not making fast enough progress and we need to see urgent decisions from the new government. Chris Coombe, Energy and Climate Change Secretary, says there has to be an enduring shift to low carbon living by driving growth in new technologies. It must be locked into the fabric of our economy in good times and bad. This government will be the greenest ever. I think we should leave that quote in the forefront of our minds for the discussion we're having this evening. Finally, I thought this is interesting because we just had the John Lewis Partnership building a place in Swindon, and the chair of the John Lewis Partnership, Charlie Mayfield, says, if we are to emerge from the recession stronger and fitter, then a commitment to tackling climate change has to be at the heart of both business and government policy. So there's some very interesting quotes there from quite eminent business and political leaders. So I hope that gives us enough background for the debate, which we're going to model on the style of TV question time, as we said. We've had a number of questions already posed to us, which we tend to go through, and when we ask people who have presented those questions to speak, I hope those people would put their names and any affiliations that they might have. And then we'll give each panel member a couple of minutes to respond to that question, before hopefully we can open it up to a bit of debate in the floor. But what I will do is, if I think the discussion is involving enough people and going on, then we'll lengthen it. But if not, I might guillotine, because I don't want to get hooked up into any specific issue, because there are a lot of topics that we want to cover this